In reference to Arizona, I have to mention that yesterday was the 100th anniversary of our state becoming a state, the 48th state, and we once had a very verbose delegate before we were a state, and he was giving a speech in Congress and said, all we need in Arizona is good people and lots of water. And Congressman from Massachusetts said, and that's all they need in hell. So, but we did finally achieve statehood, and I'm very proud of what was once a small state. As you know, it's not so small, that has produced people like Barry Goldwater and Sandra Day O'Connor and Morris Udall, and a long array of really distinguished statesmen. And I succeeded Barry Goldwater, as some of you may know. He was a very outspoken conservative, and after the night of when I was elected to succeed him, he said, you know, John, he said, if I had been elected president in 1964, you'd have never spent all those years in a Vietnamese prison camp. And I said, you're right, Barry, it would have been a Chinese prison camp. But anyway, he was not amused. I'm very happy to see you. It's hard trying to do the Lord's work in the city of Satan, and we're very happy to see you coming here from all over. We're very happy to have the opportunity to, maybe if I could say a few words, and then I would, if we can, maybe have some questions or comments or occasional insults, which I am exposed to at town hall meetings. First of all, the bad news is that the approval rating of Congress now hovers around single digits, in case you haven't seen that or not. Last poll I saw, it was at 10% approval rating. Now we are down to blood relatives and paid staffers. And Kyle, I must tell you, I landed at Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix the other day. A guy ran up to me and said, hey, he said, anybody ever tell you you look a lot like Senator John McCain? And I said, yeah. And he said, doesn't it just sometimes make you mad as hell? So thank you, Kyle, for your kind words. Let me just say again, thank you for all you're doing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The election last year in 2010 was about jobs and the economy. Understandably, it will be about jobs and the economy. I just came from this morning, though, from a hearing in the Armed Services Committee where the Director of National Intelligence, General Clapper, and General Burgess, who was also head of intelligence, testified. My friends, we live in a very, very, very interesting, changing, and in many ways dangerous world. This afternoon, we may have to wait till tomorrow. I and several other senators are headed on a trip to Afghanistan, Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, and Israel. You may not know that I'm the chairman of an organization called the International Republican Institute, and that and the National NDI are all part of the National Endowment for Democracy. By the way, a brainchild of one Ronald Reagan, which has done magnificent work around the world. I'm especially proud of the work that those organizations did in the post-Cold War era in the former Iron Curtain countries. If you have a chance to ever meet the Foreign Minister of Poland, Radek Sikorski, he will tell you that IRI and NDI were vital in helping them do the mechanics of how you run a democracy, and they've done that all over the world. Yesterday I met with, before I get off that, as you know, there's a crisis in Egypt. American citizens who are employees of IRI and NDI have had to go to the American embassy because of the possibility of being arrested. That's a terrible turn of affairs. And I was, in case those of you that aren't Hannity viewers, the other night I was on and he said, oh, this is the Muslim Brotherhood. We warned you about these Islamic extremists. My friends, it's not the Muslim Brotherhood that's doing this. It's the military government. that has brought charges. And under Mubarak, they had the strictest kinds of rules about these international organizations. It is not in our interest or Egypt's interest to see some kind of crisis. And I'm not going there as a negotiator. That's the job of the State Department. But I am going there to meet with these military leaders of their government now, who I've known for 25 years, and try to explain to them that this is unnecessary, unwanted, and can have severe repercussions as far as our relations with Egypt is concerned. And have no doubt, my friends, Egypt is the heart and soul of the Middle East, and what happens in Egypt will happen in the rest of the Arab world. So you didn't miss a thing. Anyway, so we'll be going there. We'll be going to Libya, which is a country that's still in significant turmoil, but one heck of a lot better off than it was under Gaddafi. And we do have problems in Libya with these militias that we've failed to get under the government control. But I can tell you that I am much more of an optimist than I am a pessimist. And I believe that the Arab Spring is one of the historic changes in the history of the world. And in a way, it's misnamed because it's not just the Arab Spring. It's the world spring. In case you missed it, I'm sure you did, I'm not one of Vladimir Putin's favorite persons, and not long ago I tweeted, I said, Dear Vlad, the Arab Spring is coming to a neighborhood near you. And then in the last week or so, I sent him another tweet. I said, Dear Vlad, the Arab Spring is at a neighborhood near you. And so he was on a television show that he goes on once a year in Russia, and said, somebody called in and asked about me. He said, McCain lived in a pit for 2 years, and he enjoys watching murders such as that murder of Gaddafi, and also he's nuts. So that, in case you were wondering about me, you can get Vlad's view. But seriously, just last week in sub-zero temperatures, thousands and thousands of Russians demonstrated. Who amongst us, a little over a year ago, believed that Ben Ali was going to be out of power, that Mubarak was going to be out of power, that Gaddafi was going to be dead, that there would be these mammoth demonstrations in Moscow and across Russia? Even the Chinese are nervous, and they should be. They should be, because, my friends, these are principles that all of us are endowed with certain inalienable rights. We didn't say Arabs, we didn't say non-Arabs, we didn't say Russians, we meant all. And my friends, one of the things that is really making the difference is this. I met a young man in Egypt, said I can get 200,000 people in the square in 4 hours. I was at a dinner in Tunisia with young activists that had been key to the overthrow and departure of Ben Ali. And a young woman said, Senator McCain, you know who our national hero is? And I said, no. She said, our national hero is Mark Zuckerberg. And you know, when you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. So we are at a time of historic change. And by the way, this morning we talked a bit about Syria with General Clapper and General Burgess. And their assessment was that unless something happens, that this stalemate and massacre could go on for a long period of time. The Iranians are there, the Russians have been sending in weapons, and the slaughter of these innocent civilians goes on. And some of us have argued to go with the Arab League and other countries to do what we can to provide assistance to these people who are showing such incredible bravery and sacrifice. And I also think, and I'm not here to criticize the administration, that's not why I'm here today, but I do believe that members of Congress and the President of the United States should stand and speak up for these people. We found out after the Cold War ended that it mattered when Ronald Reagan said, take down this wall, Mr. Gorbachev. If you've ever met Nathan Sharansky, whose name was mentioned by Ronald Reagan in a speech, and everybody said, oh, you shouldn't have said his name, he'll probably be beaten more in the Gulag. He said it spread through the Gulag like wildfire, that Ronald Reagan was speaking up for them. So we need to speak up for these people. We need to speak up for those who have these universal yearnings that we sometimes and too often take for granted. So I can't predict to you what's going to happen in the world. I certainly didn't predict what was happening in the last year or so. But we are in a time of enormous change. And what you do with people from all over the world and exposing them to our friendship, to our ideals, to our way of life, as flawed as it may be, in the gridlock in Congress and all of those things, the old Churchill line still applies, that democracy is the worst form of government, only a better one hasn't been invented yet. So what you do, it pays off dividends. We met yesterday, a group of us senators, about 7 of us met with the Vice President of China, who will be, as you know, the President of China. One of his fond memories was being in a small town in Iowa. I'm sure you've read about it. He remembers that very well, and he speaks with affection of the real heartland Americans that he had the opportunity to make friends with. That's why he was back today. I don't know why the hell he would go to Los Angeles, but anyway, so in case you didn't know, California has stolen all of Arizona's water. I didn't know if you knew that or not. Barry Goldwater used to say that in Arizona we have so little water the trees chase the dogs, and that's because of California. So all I'm saying is, your work has been important for many years. The groundwork you have laid has been so important. I don't go anywhere in the world that I don't run into someone in the government of the countries that I go to, and usually more than one, who had some experience with the United States of America. Education, training, exchange programs, all of the things that have made these countries better, more prepared for democracy, and have provided so many leaders in their nation. So I know that everybody in this room had something better to do than to be part of this program. Every single one of you did. But what you have done, I think, is going to pay enormous dividends, not only to this generation, but to future generations as well. That's why I wanted to come here today, primarily to say to you, thank you. Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you for the noblest of causes. The noblest of causes is to serve something greater than your self-interest. And that's what all of you are doing. I am grateful. I'd now like to respond to any questions or comments or insults that you might have. Thank you very much.